Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brahmani Maslamani. I am a Tamil. Before I start my today's topic, I want to show you something that I bought in a dollar store for $1. This one. Got it? All Tamils should believe that our freedom is coming. My topic today is reconciliation with Tamils in Sri Lanka, the myths, the mysteries, the misleaders, and the mindless. Two men woke up in the morning. One man went straight to work to make life for himself, his family, and his nation. He wanted to be an agent of change and the charter of the future. The other man got up and wandered in the yonder as to how he can plunder from the former, whom he can fool, what he can misappropriate, whose life he can destroy to get a drink and a meal. Do you get it, folks? Rest assured, the first man will never fail and the second man will never succeed. I have summarized the Sri Lankan situation in one simple small sentence. It is two different definitions to life and hence two different lifestyles. Lock up an eagle in a cage and it will bite and chew its way out of the cage on its way to freedom. Why? Freedom. It is natural and an inborn drive and effect. If Sri Lanka desires peace and freedom, constitutional changes are the sincere and the path of least resistance to reconciliation. What is written below can be summarized in one sentence. We Tamils are winning, and we Tamils have the vantage point. And hence there should not be any talk of reconciliation without constitutional guarantees. The rest is all mere coffee table talk. All along, they were able to intimidate us. Now they have lost an advantage, for we are living in the free Western jurisdictions. So Tamil people, exercise your freedom of choice. Choose to be free. There's nothing to lose anymore. All you are left with is your ability to think, which no enemy can take it away. Did you get it, folks? I may be wrong, but did Mahinda Rajapaksa or any one of his associate with him is talking about reconciliation? No. An absolute no and a categorical negative. It is the gophers and catchers who are being paid to say so. I met one of those catchers, but we caught up with him. Then once the international effort and pressure wanes off, and Tamils divided again, the crusade will continue, and Mahinda will say, I never said anything about reconciliation. It is your Tamils who were talking about reconciliation. Mahinda Ayya, we know too much about you. Intellect. Intellect, flow of personality, and the modus operandi. Simply said, it's proxy politics. Mahinda is talking through the proxies. He is not talking about reconciliation. Mahinda Ayya, you always operate through proxies. From murders to money making. It is all too obvious. I admire Mahinda Ayya's false convictions, courage and audacity to stand by what is wrong instead of standing with what is right. Only criminals believe in such a state of mind. A murderer, while being read the verdict of guilty, still believes that he is innocent, or at least pretends to be innocent. Mahinda Ayya believes in nothing is impossible, but we do believe in impossible is nothing. We will see what wins than who wins. Moral justice always wins. It's a war between Mahinda Rajapaksa and morality. Reconciliation must begin with restitutive justice. That is, one must find out if people's fundamental rights were violated. In Sri Lanka, it has been going on since 1950s. And that is why we have a huge diaspora population around the world. One must ask the question why people want to leave this nation of Sri Lanka. It is because there is no justice and hence no civil society. Reconciliation is the cover under which Mahinda Rajapaksa is trying to bury his criminal activities, murders, massacres, rapes, and torture. He is a con artist, imposter, swindler, murderer, widowmaker, wife killer, and a state terrorist. That investigation has to be done, for one cannot negotiate with a felon and make an agreement and pact with a criminal. The violated must know who the violators are. And in any social agreement, the criminal is isolated and excluded from discussion and sometimes confined to the prison. In the financial and capital markets, insider traders are banned for life from the marketplace. Mahinda Rajapaksa must allow an independent international tribunals to investigate his past 40 years and see if he is guilty of any wrongdoing. And then if found guilty, he must be excluded from any civil society and public life. When criminals, drug leaders run the government, invariably there will be violence, deceit, connivance, corruption, and murders. Secondly, there is more than ample evidence that there are criminals, drug dealers, and suspected murderers in the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa. That's a fact. How can people reconcile with the criminal and the likes? They are criminals because they have no jurisprudence, hence they will never understand equitable justice. But they understand summary executions and the like vices. It was all too obvious when Mahinda Rajapaksa told Premachandra's daughter Hirunika to shut up, for he thinks in his mind what happened was justifiable, but it needs no justice. He thinks the strongest has the patent right to what is right and what he thinks is right. What is right and what he thinks right is the equitable justice. He thinks if people need peace, then they must be ready to forego freedom. He considers himself above the constitution and above God. That's a very serious assumption. I do not know if Mahinda Rajapaksa is stupid like Mahadana Mukta or if I am stupid. But let's see if I make any sense. Please let me know if I am stupid. Isn't democracy a government of the people, by the people, for the people? There is no government in the world without a nation of people. So people in their self-interest make the government. Then the government represents the aspirations of the people. But when that very people can, over the generation, imbued in poisonous feeling, and hence they may not be suitable for electing a just government. The question is, which came first? The misguided Sri Lankan population or the monstrous Mahinda Rajapaksa as a leader? If one reads The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he very clearly argues the contract among all people of the nation must be fair and equitable, so that the people can bring forth their best in creativity. But the situation in Sri Lanka is, are the people ready for democracy based on freedom, peace and prosperity, or one based on racism and fanaticism? Let's talk further. Mahinda Rajapaksa is a lawyer. Also, he says. Jalpiris is a professor in law. And there are lots of lawyers in the government. Then they all know that the right of the people are maintained through the application of law as administered by the judiciary enshrined in the constitution. Then why are all these people talking about reconciliation in the media? The easiest way is to amend the constitution, and if there are any problems, then the people can seek remedy through the judiciary. Simple, isn't it? Occam Razor principle is the maximum that behind all complicated situations are present a simple solution, or behind all complexity there is simplicity. The simple solution to the complicated Sri Lankan dilemma is a constitution acceptable to both majority and the minority. But are the Sri Lankans magnanimous and deeper in understanding? No, that in their self-interest they must respect the interest of their neighbor. I am not ready to return to Sri Lanka until Sri Lankan people and polity becomes emancipated. When I compare the progress I made in Canada and the progress I have contributed to Canada, I now have an obligation to Canada. If there is a need, I am willing to go to the front line if the need will rise again. This is not based on racism or fanaticism, but based on how they have put people in charge of the nation. The Prime Minister and the Parliament is merely a lawmaking factory, and the rest is left to the people and the judiciary. Fantastic system. Criminals are made, not born. Unfortunately, several of them were born in dysfunctional families. That breakdown in the family structure has caused this nation to return to nature. Every Tamil should be wary and cautious, for that family and the institution of marriage were the greatest contributions we made to the humanity, which is under threat from the criminal government. When the social fabric breaks down, criminals are made. I hope the single-list leaders reflect on my contention and see where they went wrong, or were they children of illegitimate parents and dysfunctional families. How else can you explain one child becomes magnanimous and the other become murderers? Same children, same environment, same community, but different behavior. It must be the parents, community, and the alma mater. Sad indeed. When I read on the Sunday Observer newspaper praising Mahinda Rajapaksa as the greatest leader, I came to the conclusion that a man is willing to prostitute his faculty of moral right for material and money benefits. Coming back to the reconciliation and the role of the government, the Parliament enacts the laws, and the executive branch administers the law, and the judiciary as the moderator. Is there any problem with it? The people who are talking about reconciliation without constitutional amendments are either pulling wool over our eyes or sending us on a wild goose chase. This idea of reconciliation is an eyewash and a hogwash. It is to divide, confound, confuse, conquer, disorient, and destroy a community of people called Tamils. Let us tread with trepidation. People must understand that in the absence of economic prosperity, parity is impossible, and man as an animal will always look for advantage over the other man. A man must be physically, mentally, and economically strong to live. That is the nature of the universe, to select the best and propagate the strong. Let us not be naive that the Cyclops will not devour us. If it does offer peace and sanctuary, it is for it to consume the weak at a later time, but never in the interest of making the weak strong. Tamil must understand that the trust and faith have their limits, and is of no use when not reinforced with raw physical power or unbiased constitutional power. Compassion, care, sympathy, and understanding are only applicable when you are down and under. Maybe when you are equal, but never when you try to get ahead. Tamils worldwide must unite, improve their education and intellect, and increase their material wealth. Always remember that man is an economic opportunistic animal ready to even kill for its own kind for the survival of sake of survival. But sometimes he talks about moral rights, and if he does, it is weak. That's all to it. It is never greatness. No human being is well balanced in his poise. Don't be silly and don't become patsies. Always think man is another animal. One will never go wrong in being conservative and careful. Apathy and kindness are only for the weak. If you remain weak, you are okay. But you can be weak only by surrendering your civil rights and liberty. Tamils have a long way to go in emancipating politically. Remember, man is still an animal in nature and has to be kept under control by covenants. That is the only way it can be kept under control. It will never be a civic animal with its present hereditary configuration. There are animals with much better genetic configuration than human beings. The next question is, can Mahinda Rajapaksa lead reconciliation? No. His intellect is criminality. He even tells the loved ones of murdered persons to calm down and reconcile with the enemy. Let's go further. In 1901, there were 2 murders and he is suspected to have something to do with it. Who knew about it? The opposition leader Ranil Wickramasinghe and John Amaratunga. There is no possibility or even remote probability of reconciling with Mahinda Rajapaksa. Why? Look at his past. How can one negotiate with a criminal? He is not serious and genuine about reconciliation. He is just responding to the current situation. When the situation changes, he will go back to his natural behavior. After all, he is a human animal. I will do the same. We all do. So then we need a new government in Sri Lanka to talk about reconciliation. What will happen if Tamils do not agree to reconcile? All that has to happen has happened. But the reconciliation is necessary for Mahinda Rajapaksa to survive and get out from under the war crimes. There is nothing for Tamils in it. Then consider the diaspora Tamils and the 60 million Tamils in South India and the space between Sri Lanka and the South Pole. Geographically, demographically, and economically, we are at a vantage point which Tamil National Alliance does not know and understand. That is why they want to reconcile. There is nothing for them to give us. And in fact, they need us. But whatever we do has to be done through a constitutional reform. There are few Tamils who have no clue except they receive some perks such as sex, food and money from Mahinda. Oh, they are very good at it. For 60 years, the Tamils kept on asking for their constitutional rights and it was never heeded. Why now? You won the war, at least you claim so. Why are you desperate for reconciliation? Because there are allegations that need investigation and international laws have been violated and Mahinda Rajapaksa is the prime respondent. He cannot escape, but reconciliation is a means to get over it. If he can get the diaspora on his side, then he can mitigate the outcome. So he thinks. LTT was the outcome of the Tamil frustration over negotiations. You say you won the war. Then it is your duty to offer concession so that people can think of reconciliation. To ask the vindicated to reconcile is like asking the wounded soldier to donate blood. LTT has transformed into a new entity, lifting Tamil talent everywhere. Lifting Tamil talent everywhere. Now that is what it is. It's a socio-economic political outfit. Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa and his educated and enlightened followers, stop your nonsense. You are trying to divide the diaspora and divide the world community. I will give you one guarantee. You will never succeed. We know who is who in the world and in Canada where I live. Which people are anti-Tamils. Some people are against the Tamils. But they are Tamils. And they do not want Tamils to succeed. There is no pro-Sinhalese or no pro-Mahinda group in Canada or anywhere else. It is anti-Tamils, not because we are bad, but we are hard-working and very competitive people. Look at the universities and the industrial heartland of Canada and England and Europe. That will tell you all about who we are. We are now gaining political recognition. So, Mahinda Ayya, go to plan B. You can't divide the diaspora, that's a plan A. Go to plan B. That is, make some serious and deep amendments to the constitution and bring it to us. Let us study and give our feedback. What you need is a free country, not only a peaceful country. Peace can be achieved with police state, but freedom is only possible in a free nation. I will tell you, we have some formidable people on this side who can think shrewder than you, wiser than you. Tamils are no more pious, fearing, forgiving people. We stand up for our rights. Rights identical and similar to yours. Nothing more, nothing less. We don't want not even an inch more than what you have. All we want is an equitable justice and a constitution. Recently, one of your gophers were here, and I was even invited to meet him. I didn't know it was him till I saw him. He wrote an article on Sri Lanka Truth, and he was lambasting the Tamils, who he came to ask for reconciliation. I offered, but did not give, $2,500 for the rehabilitation of the IDPs. He spoke so eloquently about the plight of the IDPs. And the next day, when I read this article posted on Langa Web, damaging the Tamils in Canada. So you send him to divide the Tamils. Isn't it the motive? Mahinda Ayya, we all know you very well. You are the king of proxies. You know that is your modus operandi. Try to see if you can change your operating system. So all this talk about reconciliation is to get you off the war crime charges, and if you can get the diaspora divided, not necessarily divide and draw them to your side, you have made a major political coup. You have mounted a major political coup and a victory. But Ayya, how are you going to silence the voice of the diaspora? It is time for you to plead guilty and step on the electric chair. The moves are ambitious and audacious, and their success will depend on our failure to. Your moves are ambitious and audacious, and their success will depend on our failure to uphold the universal law of justice. But we must stand by our faith in the justice system of the book. No Tamil should ever refuse to negotiate, but not negotiate out of fear or deceit. Mahinda Rajapaksa has 2/3 majority in the parliament. Does not matter how he got it. And then he had got the means and tools to make constitutional amendments and guarantees even without the help of the Tamils. So then he should stop playing with the weak among the meek Tamils and feed them with breadcrumbs to do the dirty work. Ignorance is the worst form of poverty, and there's a limit to ignorance. Beyond ignorance, it is evolution. Ignorance among the humans can be ameliorated, but when that is not suffice, it is evolution. Then one has to be treated like a work animal. After 60 years of education and training, if they are violent, then it is definitely evolution. And therefore, we are dealing with two separate genera. 23 pair of chromosomes may not necessarily mean that we are on the same evolutionary plateau. The reconciliation offered is like a band-aid solution to a severe social hemorrhage. There are few fundamental cultural differences between the two communities. We Tamils cannot and will not ever follow their way of living. They have not shown any viable system in the last 60 years, except all they did was to elect the most racist and fanatic of the two parties to power. The two main parties are two monsters with one head. The only political tool and scapegoats are Tamils. It worked so well for the last 60 years, and now they have none, so they want to reconcile to see if they can find more palatable way to steal from the Tamils. I hope Tamils will be careful in making any investment in Sri Lanka. Why would I invest my hard work in Sri Lanka when I can get better return and safety of my capital in other nations? Tamils in Sri Lanka may have to reconcile as an act of prudence, but the diaspora does not have to. I do not even understand why they want to reconcile with the diaspora. We are not going to help to invest without substantial concessions and constitutional guarantees. Three things are seriously considered in making any investment. One is safety and security of the capital. Two is growth and appreciation potential of the capital. Three is income and dividend potential. These are the fundamental basics of any investment. Tamils, you learn and earn your money in very many hard ways. So be prudent, professional, and practical with your money. There are world-class cities where you can invest your money. You all know what happened to all the British investments in Sri Lanka. So be careful. I am asking the pseudo-diaspora Tamils, are you acting out of your ignorance or through corruption? Why would you go around breaking your community? You are either ignorant or you are inept. So go and get a good immersion course in Sri Lankan politics and then come back with your sharp mind. I bet you will begin to see a better picture. If the Sinhalese need it, they will come to us and we will lay down all the conditions for an equitable solution. Majority of Tamils are hardworking people. They do not have time to immerse in the nuts and bolts of the Sri Lankan situation. Trusted folks, we are at a stronger position to enter into negotiation, but let us see what they have to offer. Reconciliation is not an offer of greatness, but it's an eye wash and mind that wants to pull wool over our eyes. Let's see who wins. It is in your able hands. Play it wisely. Think of your utopian culture and heritage and your future generations. Remember, we are winning. Why should we reconcile when we can have it all? Rest assured, folks, we are winning. That's all, folks, for this week. The journey will continue next week. As I always say, 70 million strong Tamils worldwide. Unite. Stay together. Work hard. And never, ever give up. The best is yet to come and we are winning. My name is Subramaniam Maslamani, a world-class Tamil powered by convictions, commitment and conscience.